Vice Chairman Larson, you are live on YouTube. You are live, Mr. Chairman. Vice Chairman Larson, this is Ryan. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman?
Everything is green. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Let's take roll call.
Representative Kinner.
Here.
Representative Larson.
Here.
Representative Schwartz. Representative Simpson and Stith are both excused.
Here.
Here, oh, there you are. I was told you weren't going to be here. Snuck in, yay. Representative Walters.
Here.
Chairman Nicholas, or is he eating? Okay,
Okay, committee, we got a couple of referrals that we're going to hear and then go back to 262 that we was on this morning. The first one for referral is House Bill 82, implementation requirements for medical marijuana. We have Representative Henderson here. This is his bill. It's been re-referred to us from Judiciary. So Representative Henderson, thank you and welcome. If you could kind of take us through the bill and tell us what we're doing.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman. Appreciate the opportunity to be before you today. The bill is a study bill as you see it now, but the intent is to make it into a task force to incorporate some other things that have been identified in the testimony that was conducted in the judiciary related to another bill. And so there was one amendment that was, and what it does, it asks the state health officer to also involve the Board of Medicine, pharmacy, and some other folks. So one amendment was applied during the Judiciary Committee hearing, and that was to add the Judiciary Committee on page 3, line 5, along with the Labor and Health Committee for the report. Talking with the public health officer, the concern was expressed on the deadline of the report, and that deadline, these deadlines and these reports are aimed at helping to inform the legislature. So they are scheduled just before we meet. For example, the end of this year is a preliminary report, and then next year in September will be a final report. The preliminary will inform us on the next budget session. The final report will help inform us, on the next general session. And there's a lot to this subject. And so the aim of House Bill 82 is to help form good policy by being well informed and updated. As you know, in 2016, the state conducted a very in-depth review of marijuana with the Marijuana Task Force. And so that's it pretty much. I'll stand for questions. Oh, the other reason for referral, the main reason for referral is because we have deadlines and so on, is to delete section 2. There was a motion in the committee and it was defeated. And so we'd ask for your good offices to help us with getting that section 2 deleted and to help set it up for the next step when it'll be amended to incorporate the requirements, a fine tuning, if you will, of the requirements for the task force that will be meeting in the interim and so on going forward. That's it, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Thank you, members. Any questions for Representative Henderson? And the direction I'd got from the good chair of Judiciary confirms what Representative Henderson said, is they had intended to do an amendment to delete section 2. The reason it's here is because it has that appropriation in it, whether we pass that out or not. But so we might, as we work through that, we need to do that. Any other, Ryan, do we have any other people waiting for public comment?
You do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, committee, your pleasure.
Move the bill do pass, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Second from Schwartz. Any questions or recommendations on the bill?
Mr. Chairman,
Please.
on page 3, I would like to make a motion to delete all of section 2, which starts on line 9, page 3.
Starting at line 9 through line 20, correct? Do
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
we have a second?
Second.
Second from Schwartz. Thanks. Question on the amendment. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Back on the bill. We have a motion on the bill. Any other questions on the bill? Okay, Mary Lee?
Representative Kinner,
No.
Representative Larson,
Aye.
Representative Schwartz. Representative Stith,
Aye.
Representative Walters. Chairman Nicholas. And I will leave it open for Representative Simpson. He didn't leave and vote on this because he didn't know we had it.
So committee, the next bill that we have up is a re-referral. Yeah, we'll close the bill. We'll just close the bill without Simpson. He is excused.
That way it can get out of the committee.
That will move it out and I get it back to the floor. Thank you.
As you need to do. Okay. The next bill for our, that's been re-referred to us is House Bill 51. We had looked at this some time ago early on. This has come out of Joint Ag. And remember, we had 2 of these. One was Senate File 50 on ag-related concerns in hoping to use COVID dollars to bolster up the industry. This one is similar in providing for food supply. And we have a similar request, I believe, on page 7 for COVID dollars in the amount of $20 million. We hadn't really established a policy at that time. I don't know if we have, Ryan, do we have any people here that'd like to comment on this bill before we perhaps make a recommendation?
Vice Chairman Larson, you do not.
Okay, so committee, this is one that we do need to get taken care of today. So what's your pleasure?
Move the bill do pass.
We have second by Stith.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an amendment. So I would propose the amendment to be on page 7, line 20, removing the $20 million and inserting an amount determined by the legislature. And
Do I have a second? Second by Kinner.
Mary Lee, it's the same language we used this morning, please.
Any other question on the amendment? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any other discussion on the bill?
Question.
Thank you. Mary Lee?
Representative Kinner,
Aye.
Representative Schwartz. Let's see, Mr. Simpson did not leave a vote on the same process, excused. Representative Stith,
Aye.
Representative Walters.
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Larson.
Aye. And then, committee with that, we'll turn the time over to Chairman Nicholas. We've got Director Obrecht here with us, and I think we should all have the amendments that he drafted while we was on the floor this morning to our House Bill 263. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Droopy mic. Okay, we've got House Bill 263 in front of us and the amendment. So Matt, could you just walk us through the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, line by line on the amendment, the first addition, page 1, line 2, is to the bill title to specify that you're now providing legislative findings in the bill. Page 1, line 7, I make split effective dates. So the governor's authority to create these programs and to expend the vast majority of this money will not become effective until August 1, 2021. So you can't do anything under this bill with that authority until August 1st. Page 1 after line 11, these are the legislative findings.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, if I may back up on that split effective date, he can make rules and do various things like that. He just can't write the check, for lack of a better description,
That's right.
until that August 1st date. Just
Correct.
thanks for the education.
So, Mr. Chairman, here's the legislative findings. The American Rescue Plan Act, signed into law March 11th, provides the state of Wyoming approximately $1.2 billion in discretionary funds. Paragraph 3, federal funds provide the state with an opportunity to continue the recovery from the decline related to the COVID-19 pandemic, the revenues of the state of Wyoming and its political subdivisions, as well as to further address the economic impact of the citizens of Wyoming from the pandemic. 4, it's in the best interest of the state of Wyoming if these funds are expended in a manner which maximizes the short-term and long-term benefits to the people of Wyoming. Such a response will take a coordinated and thoughtful effort of the legislative, executive, and judicial branches of state government, as well as input from all affected political subdivisions of the state and various stakeholders and citizens of the state. To act in the best interest of the state of Wyoming, the legislature is anticipated to meet in special session during spring or summer 21 to enact programs and expenditures after receiving public testimony and developing legislation through meetings and discussion with all interested parties. Paragraph 6, in the event that for whatever reason the legislature does not enact further legislation to appropriate federal funds from either the Rescue Plan Act or the CARES Act, by August 1, 2021, the governor is authorized by the terms of this act to implement programs as specified to expend these funds. And the governor at all times retains the authority to expend these federal funds if an emergency financial situation exists, general fund appropriations can be conserved, or agency program requirements have significantly changed as provided in these specified statutory sections. I just changed page 1, line 11 is just changing the section number for the new section I added. Page 2, line 7 is what Representative Larson pointed out this morning, that these we've got right now until December 31, 2024 to expend these American Rescue Plan Act funds. Page 10, line 11 is just a typo I noticed. Or page 2, line 10, excuse me. Page 2, line 13. It had been called, like I said, the Coronavirus Relief Fund Act. Now it's the American Rescue Plan Act. I changed that. page 2, line 17, I just thought it was good to put in that this bill is not appropriating funds in 2021 Senate File 118 as that bill is enacted into law. If you turn to page 3,
So before you go on, Matt, walk us through exactly what this does now on this paragraph.
in subsection B, Mr. Chairman.
Correct. And what I'm interested in is going down line, starting at lines 16. And so how does it interrelate with House Bill for Senate File 118?
So, Mr. Chairman, what the attempt with that language is to clarify that Senate File 118 and that appropriation of CARES Act funds is its own standalone thing, that those funds that are appropriated in Senate File 118 aren't reappropriated by this act. We get to some more language in that later on in the bill.
Okay.
And that the rest of the CARES Act funding that's appropriated in here and the programs created have no bearing on what is going on in Senate File 118.
And so how do we handle if we want to say, if 118 passes, this supersedes it except for the 20 million or the 18 million?
So, Mr. Chairman, you want to carve out the two appropriations or give yourself the ability to carve out the two appropriations.
Right.
I mean, we could come up with language to do that. I do it later on in the other bills that will be enacted or potentially enacted, and the way I supersede them with this bill for a set period of time. And we could do the same thing with Senate File 118 if we wanted to.
Because we want the 20 million. And so that basically the governor's got carte blanche to do that as soon as we're out of anything's passed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're all in agreement that the 18 is probably appropriate as well. But then all those other programs, we want basically to put a hold on it until we have a special session in this bill.
And I did that, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman. We'll get there.
that's all I want to make sure.
Yep, we'll get there, I think.
All right.
On page 3, line 14, Don pointed out that that paragraph 2 was the old language as the American Rescue Act passed the House. The new language are those 4 subsections in the amendment, page 3, lines 14 through 17. So we say to respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID or its negative economic impacts, including assistance to households, small businesses, and nonprofits, or aid to impacted industries such as tourism, travel, and hospitality, to respond to workers performing essential work during the COVID-19 public health emergency by providing premium pay to eligible workers of the state, a political subdivision, or tribal government that are performing such essential work, or by providing grants to employers that have eligible workers who perform essential work. Paragraph 4, for the provision of government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue of the state, political subdivision, or tribal government due to COVID-19 public health emergency relative to revenues collected in the most recent full fiscal year of the state prior to the emergency. So that's the big one that allows us to use these funds differently than how we use CARES Act funds.
Mr. Chairman.
Please.
And Matt, if I can go back to page 2, just in that language that Chairman Nicholas is talking about in 18 and 19, we're given authority to the governor for emergency expenses, but all other new programs or other things that are non-emergency would go through the legislature. Am I reading that accurately?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, that's correct. And actually, this whole section, it'll be section 2 now, but it's what starts on the bill on line 1, page 11, does not become effective until August 1st.
Thank you.
And that date, I mean, we can change that to July 1st or whatever we want to do.
You bet, you bet. Mr. Chairman, if we switch over, On the bottom of page 2 on your amendment, page 3, line 19, that's just renumbering of these paragraphs after I added the new paragraphs. Page 3, line 21 in the bill is what Representative Larson asked for, to make sure that we could cover construction expenses that were incurred due to delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. So inflationary. Page 4, line 3, this is to specify that the governor may appoint a state entity to administer the health facility program. This was requested by Representative Walters. Page 4, all the rest of the amendments on page 4, and page 5, line 23. Yeah, page 5, that should be line 23. That should be page 5, line 5. Page 5, line 5 are just clean up on the numbering. Page 5, line 17 is to clarify that if you receive a grant, you only have to report it to the governor.
Matt, going back to your amendment on line 21 of your amendment, should that read page 5, line 5?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it reads 23 is the only reason I asked.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, thanks. That's a typo there on my part. Yeah, page 5, line 17, that the governor only, or the people receiving a grant, entities receiving a grant only need to report to the governor, and then the governor shall further provide that report to the legislature. Page 6, line 13 is just changing the section number. Page 6, after line 17, Mr. Chairman, here is the attempt to, and that should be page 7 after line 13. This is the attempt to clarify that the appropriation in this section shall supersede and take priority over any appropriation or reappropriation of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act as enacted into law during the 2021 legislative general session until August 1st, 2021, at which time any remaining CARES Act funds shall be expended as provided in those enacted laws. And then if you look at the existing paragraph B, I carve out the Senate File 118 appropriations already from that language.
So there's, if we carve out 118, we need to mention that we're splitting 18.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if you wanted to do that, we'd need to come up with some language for it.
Okay, could you do that?
Yep. And Mr. Chairman, I think what I'll probably do is specify the appropriation of 118 by section. So I think it's section 3B that appropriates the 20 million and section 3C that appropriates the 18.
It simplifies it too.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I'm going to let him finish taking his note.
I almost got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On page 3 of the amendment in line 36 there, it discusses shall be expended as provided by those laws. But should we put some language in there that says not to exceed the amount provided by those laws so that they could be prorated if there's not enough funding available to fully fund all of those bills? You know, there might be 200 million in requests and only 100 million available. So in this line or in this section, can we put something in that basically says not to exceed, and I don't know if that would incorporate a prorating of those various expenditures, if it says not to exceed, or if we need to specify, it would be prorated based on funds available not to
Accommodated
exceed.
either way.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think how those bills will be enacted, how they'll come out of both of the House and the Senate, is they won't have a dollar figure in the appropriation at all. All of that dollar figure, if there is one, will be included in the budget bill. And the budget bill itself already has the language that any appropriation Senate File 118 takes super priority, and how the auditor is to make the funds available for that. And then after that, it prorates
Yeah, the other.
all the remaining appropriations. So,
Follow up, Mr. Chairman. So we don't need additional language here because it's covered in all those others you would.
I think so. And it's kind of complicated the way it was written in the budget bill. So I think that might be the better vehicle. If you wanted to at some further time, if you didn't think that was going to be in the budget bill, we could amend it into this act as well. It would just make it a lot more, it would make it a longer amendment.
Thank you.
Well, in the budget bill, we may want to take the numbers out.
Yeah.
So. Okay, I have a question. Would it be easy to just turn this into a substitute bill so that it's simple to explain on the floor, and how much work does that cost you guys?
Mr. Chairman, we could turn it into a substitute bill. Yeah, by this afternoon. I don't think that's a huge problem.
'Cause I just think of a lot cleaner, particularly to have when it gets on the Senate side.
Yeah, I was thinking 3-page amendments are tough, but yeah, you bet I can do that.
So to do that, the whole committee has to vote on it?
Well, you just vote on Mr. Chairman, you've already got the substitute bill essentially in front of you.
Yeah.
So you just vote, the motion would be to adopt the proposed amendment as substitute one. And then I would do substitute one, and you'd have that.
All right. Any other questions for Matt? Have we covered everything, Matt, pretty much?
I think
We
so.
can tinker with it when we
Mr. Chairman.
need to.
Mr. Chairman and Matt, on page 1 in line 18 of the amendment, reading 1.2 billion in discretionary funds to the state of Wyoming, the political subdivisions of the state. Does there need to be and to or some?
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Chairman, Representative Walters. Yeah, I think in discretionary funds to the state of Wyoming and the political subdivisions of the state.
Okay, I was making sure I wasn't misreading that, so.
Yeah. Yep, I think that's right.
Okay, further discussion. Any other public comment?
Question on the agreement to.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, that motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a motion to create a substitute bill with this amendment and the existing bill?
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. And we will,
So now, Mr. Chairman.
Simpson will be excused so we can get this thing out.
You got to vote for this.
Oh, did he? Good.
Question on the bill then.
Question, roll call. Nice job,
Representative,
Matt, thanks.
You bet.
Thanks, Matt.
Representative Kinner,
Aye?
Representative Larson,
Aye.
Representative Schwartz. Representative Simpson left an aye vote. Representative Stith,
Aye.
Representative Walters,
Aye.
Chairman Nicholas,
Aye.
all ayes.
Okay, Don? Come on up.
Did you hurry to finish that? That's why there's a few mistakes in.
It does.
So Representative Schwartz, be careful. You can walk around in this room because Sure. Okay. Hold on.
And you went through something. You're done, right?
Ryan, this is just an informal presentation, so we can go off the mics. So we'll adjourn.